So hello, welcome. I'm so glad to see you guys. This is the second session. We met last week and had sort of an overview of Canvas and that introductory information and a lot of good questions. I feel like I have been taking everything I'm learning with everyone. So I teach 5 times a week right now across the health professions to each school, and everybody has such unique questions. And I'm trying to consolidate this and get it into a really usable format. So the link's in the chat, and it's basically just a website walking through the things that I've covered for all of the health professions. So like I was mentioning before the video started, it might be a little bit more than you're learning with SOM, but definitely available to everybody, and you can access it if it's helpful. So today's topic is communication and content delivery tools. And really, we're going to talk about, these are some of the useful stuff you'll probably do most often. And I want to reiterate, informal, please don't hesitate to stop and ask any questions that you have along the way. And I'm also monitoring the chat if you're more comfortable with that. So I'd like to start with search and organizing your files area. And why do I start with the files area? Well, that's because the files section in Canvas is where we hold the stuff we want to put when we're sharing information with students. So let's just say, for example, I've got some information that I want to put into my course. So I'm now in the files section, which I have my empty sandbox, like you may, or I also have maybe the template that Jessica has provided in my academic course. I have files in both spaces, and I'm going to kind of just upload some stuff, right? So I'm going to say I want a folder, and I'm going to call it my examples. And inside that folder, I'm going to upload some things that I have saved on my computer that I want to share with you. And so lots of stuff in here, but I put it all in one place, and this is what I'm going to upload. So I'm going to select everything except the video, because video I don't want to put in my Canvas course because it's big, file sizes are big, and they don't play well. So I definitely want to host all my video somewhere else, which we'll talk about. And I'm just going to say open, and it's going to do its thing. So now I've got files back there. Maybe you've got week 1 Word documents, week 1 PowerPoints, however your structure of your curriculum is, and you're going to want to share this stuff out. Well, I put it back here, and students can't see these things. So let's say maybe my sample Word document is something I want to tell the students about, but I want it to be released at a later date and time. Well, I can select this green check mark, and I can say schedule student availability from Friday at 1 p.m. And so maybe I've got a document talking about, a review to a test or some additional information that I just want to release it timely. You control that in the files area in the back end. And wherever you put the link in your course, it won't actually work until that date and time passes. And then, of course, the second part being available until you can stop sharing it at a given date and time. So this is very useful. Some people like to put answer keys in their file structure, and then they would want to make sure they just unpublish it altogether. And when you unpublish, the check mark goes away, and a link to this accidentally put into a course would still not be available ever at any time unless somebody came back and published it. So, it's just one of those secure and controlling the document behaviors. So now I've put some stuff in my files. Now let's say I'm looking for something. Maybe one of your colleagues has already uploaded it and they're telling you, no, it's there. I know it's there, and it's a PowerPoint. Well, I can come into my search box and I can put in PPT and push enter, and every PowerPoint that's in the course will come up and be displayed for me. So the search and the organization and the options for our files give us a lot of power over how we handle our materials in Canvas. So those are going to be useful tips. The next one is wanting to be able to understand how to get rid of stuff, right? So like, let's maybe you uploaded something and you didn't want it anymore. It's just the wrong thing and you want to get rid of it. Again, your menu allows you to delete. It also allows you to replace. So let's say, for example, you have a course and the sample PowerPoint, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select it and I'm going to download it. And I'm just doing this for the sake of maybe one process. It might already be on your computer and you weren't downloading it, and I could show you that way. So this would be one, I could download it here, or since I already have it on my computer, I'm going to actually open my sample PowerPoint. And it just takes a second, of course, right? And I've decided to make a change. I have a typo and I forgot to add an image. And so I'm going to make that change. I'm going to save it. And then I'm actually going to come over here and I'm going to say upload. And I'm going to choose the sample PowerPoint after I've changed it again. I'm going to say open. And Canvas is so smart. It's going to ask me, what do you want me to do with this? Do I want to skip, change the name, or replace it? Well, you have options, obviously, but replacing will make sure that the link that's already out in the course stays with this item, and you don't have to do anything else to make that update. You're done. So the only stipulation here is it has to be the exact same file name. You can't add a 1, you can't add a 2021, you can't add your name at the end. Can't even have a space difference. It's got to be the exact same name. So very picky, but very useful. Okay, so that is pretty much our file structure. You can go over to the Commons and you can find other people's files and you can take them and you can do some other things that probably aren't as common for what you're trying to accomplish. But are there any questions about the files before we move on? Okay. All right. So the next point I want to make is talking about the communication tools and creating announcements, inboxes, calendar events, and discussions. So the first one we're going to talk about, and I'm going to jump over to the template that you guys will be more familiar with looking at when you're actually doing these things. So the first one we're going to click on is announcements. Super straightforward. Announcements go out to the class. In case you have something important to say, you're going to just click the plus announcement button and it will load some options. All of Canvas is going to function the exact same for these features. When you go to add something, it's always first going to ask you, what do you want to name it? And you have to give everything a name, even if it's a temporary placeholder, because it won't let you have unnamed items. So I'm going to call this my example announcement. And this is the rich content editor. So the rich content editor is really just a way for you to create HTML code so that this stuff can be on the internet and work for your students without having to know HTML. So really, this button down here at the bottom, if you coded, you could do all your HTML code here and it would function exactly the same as if I do what I'm about to do with the rich content editor. So everybody's familiar with Word. And in Word, you've got some words at the top, home, insert, draw, and some other options, or you have your little fast icons below that to do your shortcuts. It does the exact same thing. So we'll look at edit. Edit is just going to be your basic, I want to cut, paste, do this sort of stuff. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to actually copy something out of a Word document that we're talking about today. I'm going to paste it in. And maybe it looks funny, but that's because it's holding on to some residual word formatting. So I can actually select all of it, and I can come up here, and there's going to be a clear formatting shortcut that I could get rid of any sort of problems. So you'll find sometimes you want to copy and paste, and maybe what you're copying from has some funny font. You can fix it just like that. So then I'm going.
This is Mary Hogan, real quick. In Blackboard, you use the Control V to paste. Is it the same thing here, or does the paste, the brush actually work?
So it's your shortcuts on your keyboard work as well. You can also right click and do cut, copy, paste.
Okay.
And you can also use the cut, copy, paste features here. So really the sky's the limit, lots of options.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. So the second one we've got is view. So I can view full screen, and that will make my space that I'm working in really big, if that's what you're, looking for. I hardly ever do that just because I try to, you just don't want to put too much information in maybe an announcement, but you never know what you're using it for. You've got insert, and you've got lots of options. So this is going to be really the bulk of what we're doing today, is talking about content delivery and how we can put this information into our messaging. I have uploaded some stuff to my course that you saw, and I can now put it on this page and put it in my announcement. So let's say, for example, I want to put the sample Word document I uploaded to my file space. I would go right here to course documents, and I would do that. But you're also noticing there's more options. You can upload the document to your course files from this space as well. So if you didn't go to files and upload it there, you can do it here. But again, all those features with being able to search, stay organized, turn the dates on and off, make sure things are published, that's all going to happen best in files. And you're going to stay most organized by doing that part first. So it sounds like an extra step, but it has some good benefits to it. So I've already got my stuff in here, so I'm going to go to course documents, and you'll see the slide out popped open. And now it's showing me stuff that I have in my course. So now I can say, oh, I want to put the netiquette guidelines right here in my area, but where do I want to put it? Well, you've got a few options. You can add at the top, right? Or in the middle, anywhere you want to put your cursor. So let's say I want to put it at the bottom, and then I click that item, and it's going to pop it right there on the page. Or you can select the words, like let's say that I wanted this first one to be the link. I can do that, and now it is pointing to my netiquette guidelines. Or you can also come in here and you can edit the link. So I can put my cursor there, and I can delete the PDF part and just leave those words, and it will still work. And I'm going to click save, and we're going to see what this looks like. So see, now I've got a link to that. All of these go to the same file that I pointed to, but I just had different ways that I could display it on the page. And I'm going to change my mind a lot of times today, so I'm going to go back and edit. And it's going to pop back up. And now when I put my cursor back, you can see remove link is an option, or I can just select it and backspace and delete until it's gone. So you got some choices there. We can also insert course links at this area. So let's say, for example, I want to do a link to an assignment. I want to say, hey, here's the announcement reminding you there's some work to be done. I come over here, I have my drop down, and I add a link to the final exam. So that's a choice as well. Places and things within your course can also be linked to. I've also got external links. So you'll notice insert link, I have external versus course links. Everything that's inside your course is going to be the course links. If it's a place inside your course, if it's a thing inside your course, document, image, whatever you've got going on inside the course. External links are just hyperlinks to other places. You want to put a link to a YouTube video. You want to put a link over to the SOM website. You want to put a link to a really great resource you found from, up to date. Anything outside of Canvas, that's an external link. So let's say, for example, I want to put a link to that resource I shared with you guys. And I have copied the URL. And right here, I'm going to call it online course. And I'm going to select the text. And I'm going to say insert external link. Or I can use this icon right here. I got a shortcut. So it shows you the text you already have on the page. And then you just paste and say done. And that's how I get to my online course that I shared the link with you in the chat. And it opens up outside of my Canvas space. We can also do link options. So you can kind of see, you can come over and edit if you change your mind, or maybe you find you put a typo or a mistake of some sort. You've also have media. So if we talk about course media, let's see what we've got as far as in this course. So I don't think we have any, but I might have something over here in my other course. So give me just a second to come to announcements. And don't think it's going to have it, but just in case. And it does not. Okay, so what I was trying to prove to myself here is that insert media is not connected to Canvas Studio, because I uploaded a video to Canvas Studio just to see how it worked. And that is not going to be where you go to put it in your course. So I'll show you real quick. We'll open Studio. And it's this it's a C with an arrow to the comments, and then what looks like a TV with legs. I don't know. It looks to me like it's a puppy sitting down with legs. But this is Studio, and I uploaded one video. And so because I have a video here, I can come over here and I can select this plug. And the plug is to applications that are integrated with Canvas. And I'm going to say View All. And I'm going to choose Studio. And takes it just a second, but my library now has this video here that I can say, here it is, this is what I want. I want people to be able to comment about it, and oh, they can also download it if they love my dogs so much. And then click embed. That is going to be how you can add short videos to an announcement. And that's how it pops up. So yeah, Studio is a very nice video tool for short stuff. It's not for full-length videos. It's not for lecture. So I definitely want to make a point to share that we talked about it last week, but again, Echo 360, we are 1 week closer to having it fully set up, and trainings are coming. So that's going to be the real powerhouse when it comes to video, and then Studio is just sort of its, sidekick. All right. So coming back over here to my announcement that I was working on, I also want to be able to format. So there's a lot of variety with how you may want to indent bullet lists, numerical lists. So let's say I really don't want these to be numbered because they have no significance in order. So I can come over here and take off the numbering. I can also add bullet points. I can make it A, B, C, or D. And I have a variety of options like this. I can also indent, and I can decrease the indent. I can bold, I can change colors, I can italicize. all the stuff you can do in Word, you can do in this space. And it really works very similarly. I'm going to show you how to add a picture. So remember I uploaded some stuff to the files area. One of those was a picture. So we're going to add an image, and it's a course image because I already uploaded it to my course. And I'm going to come over here and we can say, oh, let's put this one. Looks beautiful, and click save. And now I've got just a variety of information and ways that I can control sharing content in my announcements. So these actually go out to the course either when you click save, or you need to delay the posting to a specific date and time. Now, this is probably pretty important because a lot of times I don't think before I act, and I send out an announcement and then I have to run and do something else, but 15 people have a question about that announcement. And I didn't really think about that timing. So now I've gotten a little bit wiser and I'm like, okay, so Thursday at 5 p.m. maybe isn't the best time to post my announcement. Maybe I want to wait until Friday at 8 a.m. when I'm back in my office and ready to help people. So I get to control that here. And again, the feature is exactly the same that it was in the files section. You'll just see the same option again. It's just being applied to a different component within the system. You can allow users to comment. They don't have to, of course, but users must post before seeing replies is sometimes very helpful if you're using, if you're just wanting to post an announcement and you're wanting to get feedback, but you don't want other people to be reading other people's opinions before they give feedback, you could select this. And that way they would see everyone's comments after they make their own. And then of course, allowing liking. This is something that is very, useful if announcements are something you're wanting to get fast feedback. You can ask students if they, like if they agree or something like that. And then of course, click save and all of your settings will be applied. Announcements are viewable down the page as they are added. So if you end up with 20 announcements, they're just going to keep adding on with the newest one on the top. Okay, the next area was inboxing. So if you don't want to talk to the entire class, maybe you want to send a message to 5 of your students. Something is going on and you just want to reach out. You can come over to your inbox. You can compose a new message. You choose the course that you're wanting to send the messages to. So for me, I'm going to choose my overview because that's got a lot of people in it. And then I can select categories, or I can also, let's say, want to see all my students. I only want to send it to a few. So you've just got a lot of options there on controlling how you communicate out through this feature without having to maintain any sort of student lists or anything else outside of Canvas. Area works the same. You're just going to type in this space and you can attach down here at the bottom. So I'm going to cancel this because I don't actually want to send out any messages, and going to go back inside our course and show you the calendar. So the calendar, anytime you put something into Canvas that has a date associated with it. So let's say an assignment, quiz, discussion board, and it's due by a certain date, that is already going to populate into the calendar for you. Automatically, the system knows what you're doing, it's tracking what you've entered, and it's filling that out. But you also have the ability to do it manually. So let's say I wanted to, we've got this sample course and I want to talk to you guys, and I want to remind you that next week we have 4 o'clock. So I can say session, I can come in here and say it's at, it's the 12th, it's from 4 to 5. And Let's say I don't want to put a location, but I want more options. It will open up and you will have the same idea of what you just did in the announcement all over again. Title, space to do whatever you want and put all of that content however you want to format it. Then you can, add the details here if you so choose. Then when you create this event, it's now going to show up. Great thing is, if you've already got events created and you have changes to make, you can literally drag and drop to a different date and it will handle it for you. Bad news is that you can drag and drop and it doesn't ask you if you're sure. So if you're in the calendar for a course, you might just want to be careful with your mouse, because even though I've been using Canvas for years, I have accidentally moved things and didn't mean to. So it will not give you any sort of reminder or warning, and you might not have meant to change the due date on an assignment or a quiz. Okay, so that is the calendar feature. And then discussions, it's going to look extremely familiar because of what we've just talked about, but the same sort of concept. You're going to have add button, you're going to have the title, you're going to have the same rich content space, and you'll be able to post either to all your sections, or if your courses have, are cross-listed where you have multiple sections of students, maybe you have something to say to just the first group and not all of them. You would be able to differentiate here. You can select one file to attach, but you can link to all the files you want to in the rich content editor space. So even though you can only attach one file, you're not really limited. You just have to go about it a different method. You've got options for allowing threaded replies, for posting that users have to post before they see other people's. Again, if you're using discussions to talk about patient cases and you're wanting them to think independently and post their perspectives, and you select this, they will have to post and then they will see everybody else's posts. Make sure if you use this feature that you put a note in the text area letting students know you must post before you'll see other people's replies, because they can kind of get a little nervous when they don't see anybody else doing it, and nobody sometimes wants to be first. So letting them know they're going to look like they're first no matter what they do, so that they can expect why they don't see anyone else's information. You can have these discussions graded or not. If you select to have a graded discussion, it will automatically put the graded assignment into the assignment space and create your column in the gradebook to be able to give the students a grade. So that's the back-end connection of the way Canvas works. Anywhere you create something that's graded, be it discussions or quizzes, it automatically goes into the assignment space, and the assignments is what creates your gradebook. And I'll talk more about that next week. Okay, you can also allow liking. You can make them group discussions. Make sure that you have your groups created before you assign a group assignment. Unlike Blackboard, in Blackboard, you could say to Blackboard, I want to make this a group assignment, and then the students can sign up for their group, and then you just put the assignment out there and it would tell students, oh, sign up for a group and then do this assignment. Canvas does not do that. If you have a group assignment without putting students in their groups or having them sign up first, they can go in and submit individually, and it will create a headache for you to have to get rid of the individual work and turn it back into a group assignment afterwards, pretty much requiring you to delete the whole thing and do it again. So just a heads up on that. You, of course, if it's graded, have to select your points. If you have 0 points possible on anything in Canvas, it is treated as extra credit. So keep in mind, 0 will make grades look really good, and make sure, even if you aren't sure, maybe you're like, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it worth 20 or 25 points. Just put a 1. just so it doesn't treat it as extra credit until you make up your mind. But again, you can also just save and not publish it and then come back and change your mind later. So I'm going to take away, it has all the same features we'll talk about next week as far as when things are due and how they're available. So I'm going to take the graded aspect away. And again, you can make discussions open at a certain day and time and close at a certain day and time. It's really more of a course management decision. I feel like the larger the course, the more content rich you're teaching, right? If you have a lot of stuff to talk about, having a discussion board over just week one's materials can be helpful, because otherwise questions can become overwhelming for students to refer back to. But locking it down means that they can no longer participate and see it. So you kind of have to think about these things on how do you want students to participate and be able to access resources after the fact. Okay, so you would save, and I'm actually going to put in some placeholder so I can save it. And I'm not going to publish it, so I can show you. It comes up and it's got the line through saying that it's not published. So students can't see this no matter what they do until I click that publish button. So that's something when you're editing and you're in the process of working on it, just keep it hidden until you're ready to go. And it's just a click of the button afterwards. Okay, so that's really the communication tools. Discussions kind of on that border of it's a communication, but it's also an assignment if you want it to be. And unpublishing and publishing items applies across the board. So everything in Canvas has to be released to students with publication. So whether you're talking about your files being published, or you're talking about your assignments or your modules being published, that is definitely going to be the control button. Now, inside of a module, you can have items that are published and unpublished. You can also unpublish and publish the entire module. So what happens when you do this, see, I can have it this way, but if my items are unpublished and I publish a module, it will automatically turn everything on for what's in the module. So it's just some behaviors to keep in mind when you're pushing buttons. Okay, any questions about files, communications, publishing?
Hi, Melissa. I have a couple of questions. Thank you so much for meeting with us today. A couple of questions I had. The first one in the announcement tool. So in Blackboard, faculty post an announcement. They don't have an option to select comments. So the option here for Canvas, when they enable the announcements with comments, do faculty get like a notification of some sort that they have something to look at, or maybe someone has a question?
So on your dashboard, you will have tons of notifications for what's kind of going on. And then in your profile area, you get to choose how those notifications behave yourself, and your students get to do the same. So notifications are a very personal thing. You can see I have tons of courses, and most of them I'm not responsible for in any way. So I have most everything turned off. Otherwise, I would show 1,000 or more notifications for Canvas on a daily basis, and it probably doesn't matter. But for me, I feel the pressure of not having done whatever it's notifying me to do. So I like to minimize it. Hopefully your students do not turn all their stuff off, because that would, I feel like, really defeat the purpose of being in school. But they can, sort of customize if they want to get an email, or if they want it to go to, their app notification as well. So that brings me to a really good point that it's important to remember. I'm going to show you on your dashboard. So if you have multiple teachers teaching a course, and not all of them are responsible for grading, it's really a good idea to make them colleagues instead of teachers in the course, because the teacher role is going to get all the grade to-dos. And if you're a teacher helping teach, but you're not responsible for grading, that may not be something that you want to look at. So you can definitely go in to your course and in people. So this would be a banner question as well, talking to them about, how people are put in banner would be how they're affected. And if, there's a way that they can change for the role to be a colleague role. And a colleague can access all of the information except the grading parts. So there's other options you can see from this list, and they're also customizable. So depending on what your school's needs are, we'll be able to talk about that. Okay, great questions. Do you have more?
Yes, I have one more question. So in the files area, there's an option to put an available time and everything. And then, you go into another part of the course, like we were talking about the assignments option for the discussion to publish or not. I guess my question is, I think it's a really good question for the faculty. What carries more weight? Is it the availability, the date that they set, or do they still have to publish?
Correct. So the availability date is published. It just knows intuitively that it's not going to start working until the date and time it's set to, and it's not going to stop working until the date and time that's set to. So what you set here is going to carry the most weight. Then the next level would be your pages and your modules where they get to see that link to the file. And then on the home page, the biggest of all is going to be the course publish. So there's layers. If your files are not published, it doesn't matter if you have the links in the course and the rest of the course is published, they won't work. If the files are published, but the course isn't published, it won't work. So all of it sort of works in, a connected, way. It just depends on what the circumstances are. So just making sure that your files are set to what you want them to do. Make sure that your pieces are unpublished if you want them to be hidden for now and later shown. And then make sure your whole course is published so that students can actually get in and see it.
Thank you, Melissa.
Absolutely. You're welcome. Any others? I thought you said you had one more.
I know you can read my mind, but this time it was only 2.
Okay. I do try. Okay, so I've got down a few more things to show you. So editing pages, and I've had a lot of questions about pages and modules in the 3 o'clock session from today. So I definitely want to share that forward with you, that pages and modules, if you're feeling confused, I did a whole hour-long session on just those 2 things. So they aren't as straightforward as maybe some people feel, and it's definitely worth taking the time to ask any questions if you're struggling with this. But I'm going to walk through it and we'll see if we can clarify. It's pretty straightforward once you know what you're looking at. So a module is an empty box. It is basically, and I'm going to create a plus module and I'm going to call it my sample module. And when I do this, I can say I want it locked until a certain date and time. And by now, this is starting to feel like I am being super repetitive because Canvas just has the same options in different places for different things, but they all work the exact same way. So once you get the basics, you're going to be fine and you're going to feel like a pro because really it's very similar. I can set a date and time that I want this to open. So let's say maybe I don't want it to open until the end of the day, Friday. It's next week's material. So Friday at midnight, they can start on it Saturday morning. So I don't put anything here and it will default to 11:59. And I want to make some prereqs. Maybe I want to say they have to do there's maybe a student orientation or a pre-quiz or anything that I want to say they have to do that first, I would set that here. And I'd say add module. And it's going to go to the bottom because by default, it likes to put new stuff at the bottom in the module area, but I can move it. So once I'm over here, I can drag and drop. So you can see me dragging and dropping, or I can use the buttons and let's say move the module, and I want to say move it to the top. And I moved it up here and you can see it literally is just an empty box. There's nothing inside of it. It's up to you, and anything you put inside of this module is going to create the structure of your student's experience. So if I can show you really quickly an example of a no module navigation. This course has no modules. It's got absolutely nothing. They are turned off. The student view is going to show you what students would see if they logged into my course with no modules. And they really would only have these links to get to where they want to go. So they click on pages and they're like, oh, I see the same thing again. Okay, view all pages, huh? Well, I guess I can look at the first one. Well, now what do? I can't, okay, I guess I'll go back. And then maybe they're like, you can see they would have a really hard time figuring out what they were doing first, second, and third. Like there's no sequential order or structure. Like if they go to assignments, they could pick an assignment, but once they're there, they're at a dead end and they have to go somewhere else. So I like to make a point that modules is what creates the structure. And I will show you exactly what I mean after we put some stuff in the sample module. So let's say over here on the plus button, I want to add the final exam. And I'm just randomly picking because that's what's under my assignments. And I want to add, there are no quizzes, but I have files. I want to add the help icon. You see, because these items are published already in their state of where they were added to the course, they're carrying over whatever state that is, but my module is not published. So no one can see the stuff that's in here. It's still hidden from everybody. So then I'm going to also add, I could add a page or discussion. I can also add a text header. So headings are used to separate. And I can add that there, and this is just words. See, and I can put them, I can do whatever I want here, and I can change everything around. I can also indent. If you have a heading and you want to indent the items that go underneath it, all for creating your visual appearance. Then let's just say I'm going to publish the whole thing. I'm going to go to my student view and see how it's locked. And no matter what I do until April 9th, it is not going to be available to me because I have it locked. The rest of them, I did not do that. And that's okay. Now they can see them, but I wanted to show you the student view. It will show you grayed out. They cannot see it. So now I'm going to leave this one. And then I'm going to show you if I click on the first item, I now have a next button. You saw in my course over here that I had no modules. So if I opened a page, there's no next button. That's because modules creates the next button. And once I get to the second item, I then have a previous button. And so basically modules are empty boxes that once you put stuff in them, it creates a book. And students can turn the pages of that book to get through your course. So I'm just going to go through each one, and you can see I am now at week 1, and next will take me to week 2. Next will take me to week 3, and so forth and so on down the entire page until I get to the end. And that's how modules create structure. Now, this is a garbage module for my sample, so I'm going to show you how to delete it. But first, I want to show you well, what about just getting rid of some of these options? Okay, I'm gonna come over here and it says remove. Wonder what remove means. It's not delete. Well, it means that the help icon PNG file will stay in the file structure, but it will be removed from the module. So it still exists in my course, but remove means I'm taking it from where it's at. This one I'm going to remove. And this one I'm going to remove. They're still existing. The final exam is still there. Or I could have deleted all of it at once. I've got lots of choices. So now that I've cleaned up my mess there, I'm going to show you the pages. Pages are going to work exactly like the announcements did. They're all going to have a title, and they're going to have the rich content editor space that you can come in and you can type. You can put, if you've got, okay, I need to add my outcomes, you can cut and paste them into this space. If you need to list your chapter readings, you could type them here. If you need to upload the lecture, PowerPoint or PDF, it would go here. Now, the way that Jessica has this template text, I would recommend you backspace, right, to get rid of that. And then you're going to insert your course document and come on over and find your PowerPoint. Oh, I don't have one in this course. We're going to pretend this is my PowerPoint. And then put it here on the page. And then, of course, Control Z to undo works just like it does when you're in a word processing application as well. And then I'm going to save, and I'm going to leave that exactly how I found it. So that is the pages modules relationship. It's pretty minor, but it has a big impact on the student's experience. So it's pretty important. The next part, I've got, I think I've covered it all. So I've got time for questions. Any more? And oh, I see there's some chatter in the chat area. And yes, so a page in Canvas is definitely like an item, the single things that you got to put, but they're open creatively. It's just a blank canvas that you can make look however you want. You can put images and do, you know, the fun icons that you're seeing here, whereas Blackboard was a little bit more boxed in. And modules is definitely like the file folder for sure. Even when things were brought over from Blackboard, if you had a folder, it put the folder was the module. And if there was a folder inside that folder, it got the subheader and it got the stuff. And then it got another subheader and then it got some more stuff. So yeah, that's exactly what it is. Okay. Any other questions? You guys are quiet.
They're not usually this quiet, Melissa.
You know, someone said in one of the Center for Teaching and Learning meetings, you know, if you're quiet, it must mean that we explained it okay. And it's not a bad thing.
Melissa, I'll ask a question because it might come up. I thank you for going over that notification portion. Is there like a document that is like recommended for faculty to select the following notifications?
Ooh, no. That's a good question. I do believe that it is just totally up to you. I would say my recommendation would be leave everything by default until something annoys you and then decide if it's important. And if it's not important, turn it off.
Okay.
Any other questions? Well, you guys can go early and have 10 minutes back to make up for my 10 minutes late last week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You guys are welcome. Y'all enjoy your week.
Thank you so much, Melissa.